in the uh, overview of module 1, we have seen that, we have seen the concept of MEMS and microsystem, typical MEMS and microsystem products, microsystem and microelectronics, multidisciplinary nature of microsystem design and manufacture, microsystem and miniaturization, application of microsystem. So these were the concept that were in the module 1. And if I come to module 2, in the module 2, we study the concept like working principle of microsystem. In that, we have seen the introduction. We have seen what is microsensor, micro actuation, MEMS with micro actuators, micro accelerometer, and finally microfluidics. So that is the part A of module 2. Similarly, in the part B, we have seen the concept of the molecular theory of matter and intermolecular forces, plasma physics, and electrochemistry. So these are the main topics in module 2. Okay, so now if I start part A of module 2, part A of module 2, the part A of module 2, it is related to the microsensors. It is microsensors. So now the rapid advance in the microfabrication technology has enabled many new MEMS products to emerge in marketplace. So that can be a microsensor or can be a micro actuator. Now, if I take microsensor, so microsensor, it is the most widely used MEM device in today's market. And if I see the definition of microsensor, it's a device that converts one form of energy into another, provides the user with a usable energy output in response to a specific measurable input. So that means the basic purpose is to convert energy from one form to the another, and that produce the user and provide the user with a usable energy output in response to a specific measurable input. So that means, so if I am measuring pressure, I want output in terms of voltage. So what I am doing is I am converting the mechanical energy into electrical energy. So it is converting energy from one form to the another form and provide the user with a usable energy output. So that means the user. So user should able to read should be able to read that value. Okay, so in response to a specific measurable input. So my specific measurable input is the pressure and final output is the voltage, so that the user can read that value in response to the pressure. Okay, so that is the basic definition of the sensor. So now if I take the first sensor in the module 2 is the acoustic wave sensor. So what this acoustic wave sensor does, so this it measures the chemical composition in a gas. So the basic purpose of acoustic sensor is to measure the chemical compound in a gas. So these sensor generate acoustic wave by converting mechanical energy into electrical energy, and where it is used, these devices are used to actuate fluid flow in microfluid system. So that is the advantage and application of acoustic wave sensor. So they work on the principle of piezoelectric and magnetorestrictive principle. And next is the biomedical sensors and biosensor. So now many predict that the biomedical industry will be the next major user of microsystem after the automotive industry. So now the latest term is biomems. So that means it can be a biomedical sensor or it can be biosensor. In general, it is called as biomems. Now if I take the biomems, the application of MEMS in biomedical industry, so that can be classified into one, it can be a biosensor or it can be bioinstrument and surgery tool, or it can be a system for biotesting and analysis for quick and accurate and low cost testing of biological substance. The biomems, I can have either biosensor or bioinstrument and surgery tool or biosystem for testing and analysis of quick, accurate and low cost testing of biological substance. Now the major technical issue involved in the application of the MEMS in biomedicine, so there can be one, the functionality for biomedical operation, second, adaptivity to existing instrument and equipment, third, compatibility. So this is very important. So compatibility with biological system of the patient, and can be other also like controllability, mobility, easy for navigation, for operations such as those required for the laboratory use. And now these sensors, they can be either biomedical sensor or biosensor. So now what is biomedical sensor? So biomedical sensor, they are used to detect the biological substance, whereas biosensor may be broadly defined as any measuring device that contain biological element. So this is very important. So biomedical sensor, they are used to detect biological substance, whereas biosensor may be broadly defined as a measuring device that contain biological element. So that we have seen. So now, so the advantage also we have seen. So the advantage is, if I take the advantage of biomedical sensor, so they are typically they require typically a minute amount of sample and can perform analysis much faster with virtually no dead volume. The advantage of biomedical sensor. And we have seen the one example where I'll measure the content of glucose in the blood. So we have seen an example how the glucose content, it is converted into an final value, finally measurable value can be in terms of voltage. Next, also we have seen the biosensor. Okay, so now this is a biosensor. So now if you look at this figure, so on the biosensor, they work on the principle of interaction of analyte. You can see here, it is the interaction of okay, you can see here, it is the interaction of analyte that need to be detected with biologically derived molecule such as enzymes, certain forms of antibodies and other forms of protein. So these biomolecule, so now these biomolecule when attached to the sensing element, biomolecule attached to the sensing element can alter the output signal of the sensor when they interact with the analyte. Okay, so now this biomolecules, so they are attached to the sensor, they interact with the analyte and they produce the desired output. Okay, so now my sensor I can have chemical sensor, I can have optical sensor, I can have thermal sensor, or I can have electrochemical sensors also. So how it works? biosensor work on the principle of interaction of analyte that need to be detected with biologically derived biomolecule. So biologically derived biomolecule. So this is the working principle of biosensor. So next, we are seeing the concept of chemical sensor. So this is also very important. So the chemical sensor, they are used to sense particular chemical compound. For example, so when I take a iron rod, so they are vulnerable to oxidation when exposed exposed to air for long time. Now what will happen is significant oxide layer is built over the metal surface, and it will change the material property such as the electrical resistance of the metal. So this natural phenomenon illustrate the principle on which many microchemical sensors are designed and developed. So now there are there are basically 4 working principle on which the chemical sensors are developed. One is the chemi-resistor sensor, chemi-capacitor sensor, chemi-mechanical sensor, and metal oxide gas sensor. Now we have seen the each one. So chemi-resistor sensor, what will happen is there's a change in the resistance. In the chemi-capacitor sensor, there's a change in the capacitance. Then there's a chemi-mechanical sensor. So what will happen is they change the shape. So when they are exposed to chemical, so that is why it is chemi-mechanical sensor. Then metal oxide gas sensor. So this sensor work on the principle similar to that chemi-resistor sensor. So what will happen is several semiconducting metal such as SnO2 change their electrical resistance after absorbing certain gas. So what will happen is there is a change in the electrical resistance. So that is why it is metal oxide gas sensor. So then we have seen the concept of optical sensor. So now the optical sensor, what will happen is, so the basic working principle is the interaction between the photons in the light and the electrons in the solid that receive the light and have been developed in the quantum physics. So depending upon that, you have a photovoltaic junction, photoconductive device, we have photodiodes, then I can have photo transistor also. So what will happen is, the photovoltaic junction, they produce a electrical potential when more transparent substance of semiconductor A is subjected to incident photon energy. So that is nothing but this. So this layer, it is exposed to the light. So what will happen is, so it can produce an electric potential when more transparent substance semiconductor A it is exposed to light. So as a result, I'll get a PN junction. Okay, so there's a photo transistor also. So next, the pressure sensor. So this also we have seen. Okay, so next, the how the piezoresistor. So the working principle of the pressure sensor we have seen in the first module. So where there's a silicon diaphragm, so that is made up of the piezoresistor. So when the mechanical pressure falls onto the diaphragm, there's a change in the shape. So there's a deformation. So there's a mechanical deformation happening on the diaphragm. As a result, there's a change in the electrical resistance. A change in the electrical resistance is converted into voltage. So I can have the 4 resistors. So that means it's nothing but a bridge arrangement, Wheatstone bridge arrangement. And if there is any unbalance in the bridge, I'll get an voltage. That voltage is equivalent to the pressure being applied on the diaphragm. So similarly, I can have the, instead of resistance bridge, I can have the capacitance bridge also. So then we have seen the concept of the micro actuation. The micro actuation is also very important. So now If I take actuator, so actuator is a mechanical device for moving or controlling. So I can move a object or I can control the movement of an object. So actuator is a very important part in the microsystem that involves motion. And when I take particularly to the MEMS, so there are 4 commonly used actuating motion. One, with the help of thermal force. Second, the shape memory alloy. Third, piezoelectric crystal. Fourth is the electrostatic force. And if I take the thermal, so what will happen is, so when two dissimilar material, so when two dissimilar material with different thermal expansion of coefficient, when they heated, it will bend. So it will change its shape. So that means there's a deformation. So when there's a deformation, I can get the actuation. So this is one way by using the thermal force. So second, I can have the shape memory alloy. So in the shape memory alloy also, we have seen, so the heating a beam to a temperature would prompt the strip memory to return to the original bend shape. So this principle we have seen in the we have seen in the actual demonstration in the class also, the shape memory alloy. So third, in the actuation with the piezoelectric crystal, so what will happen is, so the quartz behavior when subjected to mechanical deformation, there's an electric voltage happening. So that means when there's a mechanical force falling onto the sides of the crystal, on the other two sides, I'll get an voltage. And the other way is also possible. When I apply the voltage, there's a mechanical deformation happening. So this is the working principle of piezoelectric crystal. So next, we have seen the actuation with the help of electrostatic force, electromagnetic force. We have seen the concept of electrostatic force and electromagnetic force also. Next, we have seen the concept of micro accelerometer. So this is very important. We have seen the design of this also, the micro accelerometer. So the micro accelerometer is an instrument that measures the acceleration or deacceleration of the moving solid. These accelerometers are widely used in automotive industry. So for example, plus or minus 50 g, the range of acceleration or deacceleration, they are used to actuate airbag for the driver and passenger safety in the event of collision with another vehicle. So the micro accelerometer, they are often called as inertia sensor. So this is the micro accelerometer. So they are built on the principle of mechanical vibration. Okay, so this is how micro accelerometer is developed. So it is connected, it is fitted to the vibrating base. There's a constraint base, and there's a silicon cantilever beam, and there's a mass fitted over the cantilever beam. So now what will happen is, if the acceleration or deacceleration is 50 plus 50 g or deacceleration is minus 50 g, so this mass will bend. Okay, so that means there's an actuation now happening. So depending upon this bending angle, my airbag is getting opened. Okay, so that is the one concept we have seen with the change in the capacitance also. That means when this moves, so that means during the acceleration or the deacceleration rate, this is the spring, the spring attached. Now this is the mass moving. So when there's a acceleration or the deacceleration rate, so this mass moves. This mass moves. When this moves, now they say this is the dielectric medium. It can be air. So when there's a movement of this, there's a change in the dielectric or there's a change in the air gap. So when there's a change in the air gap, there's a change in the capacitance. So that change in the capacitance is used to actuate the airbag. Okay, so the last part of the part A of module 2, it is microfluidics. Now, the principal application of microfluidic system are for the chemical analysis, biological analysis, and chemical sensing, and the drug delivery and DNA analysis. So, why it is used? It is essential part of precision control system for automotive, aerospace, and machine tool industry. And we have seen the advantage of microfluidic system also, the ability to work with small sample, and microfluidic system offer better performance with reduced power consumption. Okay, so the part B. So the part B of module 2, it is the intermolecular force, molecular theory of matter, the doping of semiconductor and diffusion process, and the plasma physics. So now, if I take any engineering material, so we can frequently that is used for electromechanical system. It can be an electrical conducting material, electrical insulation material, or the dielectric material, or the semiconductor material. So these are the common materials used in the electromechanical microelectromechanical system. So they can be electrical conducting material, electrical insulation or the dielectric material, or the semiconducting material. So for me, the important is the semiconducting material. So now there's a class of material that is particular importance in the MEMS and the microsystem is a semiconducting material. So this material, they have the natural electrical conductivity but cannot conduct electricity as a conductor. However, they can be made to conductor with their electrical resistance reduced to the order of 10 to the power minus 3 ohm centimeter by a process called as doping. So now if I take the copper, the electrical resistivity, resistivity of the copper, it is 10 to the power minus 5.8, whereas of the silicon, it is 10 to the power plus 4.5. Electrical resistivity of the copper, it is 10 to the power minus 5.8, whereas the electrical resistivity of the silicon, it is 10 to the power 4.5. So now what I need to do is, copper, it is a conductor, silicon, it is a semiconductor. So now what I need to do is, I need to reduce the electrical resistivity of the silver from 10 to the power 4.5 to 10 to the power minus 5.8. How to do this? This is by the process of doping. Okay, so now this is the process of doping. So doping is an essential process to produce PN junction in microelectronics. Doping of semiconductor can be achieved by altering the number of electron in their atoms by implanting foreign atoms with significant number of electrons. So these foreign materials, they are called as dopant, and the atom that gives up electron is referred to as donor. So that is the process of the diffusion. Okay, so now diffusion is a common process that is used in doping silicon wafers with the foreign substance. Diffusion is a common process that is used in doping silicon wafers with silicon substance. So now the diffusion process, it is defined by Fick's law, and the law states that the basis for mathematical modeling of diffusion, it is a mathematical model for the diffusion process. It says that the concentration of liquid A in liquid B with distinct concentration is proportional to the difference of concentration of the two liquid, but inversely proportional to the distance over which the diffusion effect takes place. So that means, so if I am doping certain foreign material on the silicon, now what should be the or how much layer of foreign material I need to deposit over the silicon material. So that is defined by Fick's law. So the law states that the concentration of liquid A in liquid B with distinct concentration is proportional to the difference of the concentration of the two liquid and inversely proportional to the distance over which the diffusion effect takes place. So that is the Fick's law. Okay, so that is the doping process, and the last part of that is the plasma physics. Now the plasma is a gas that carries electrical charge. The plasma is a gas that carries electric charge. It contains approximately equal number of electron and positively charged ion. As a whole, plasma is a mixture of neutral ionized gas, and plasma is a key ingredient in microfabrication process. So this we have seen in the module 5, where the plasma etching. So the plasma etching, we have taken the plasma gas. So why? Because it's a gas that carries electric charge and it contains approximately equal number of electron and positively charged ion. As a whole, it's a neutral gas. Okay, so now if I take the Y plasma, so why plasma physics? Why? Because it contains large number of positive ion with extremely high kinetic energy that can be used to perform the following essential function. Now, what are the following essential function? So one is to assist in doping of foreign material in a base material such as silicon substrate. Second, assist in penetrating desirable foreign material into base material. And third is remove of portion of base material by knocking out of atom from the material. So the third application we have seen in the module 5. It is for the process of removing certain parts. So removing of portion of the base material by knocking out the atoms from the material. So this is the advantage of plasma physics. And basically there are 4 processes involved in the plasma physics. One is the ionization, second is dissociation, third is the excitation, and fourth is the recombination. So these are the 4 steps involved in the plasma physics. And if I take the VTU question paper, VTU question paper, the question is a question from the module 2. What are the principal application of microsensor, actuator, and fluidics? Okay, so we have to define what is sensors, what is microsensor, we have to define what is actuator, then what is microfluidics, then you have to give one example for the microsensor, can be biomedical sensor or biosensor, similarly the actuator, and similarly the fluidics. Then describe in detail about acoustic wave sensor and chemical sensor. This is for 8 mark. So 4 mark for the acoustic wave sensor and 4 mark for the chemical sensor. So you can define what is acoustic wave sensor and working principle of chemical sensor. Next, explain in detail the optical sensor. Explain in detail the optical sensor and pressure sensor. Describe 4 actuation technique of micro device, that is the shape memory alloy, piezoelectric, electrostatic, then the thermal. So they are the 4 actuation principle. for the actuation, the 4 actuation technique. Okay, so we can define microsensor. Okay, actuator fluid, acoustic also discovered, chemical sensor is also covered, optical sensor. Optical sensor you can start from the photovoltaic junction, then PN junction, phototransistor, then the pressure sensor, then the 4 actuation principle. So almost it's covered in the module 2. So all the 4 questions, so they are covered in module 2. If any doubt, you can clarify. Any doubt, you can clarify. Tomorrow class, we'll look at or we'll do the revision of module 3. Tomorrow class, we'll do the revision of module 3. Any doubt, you can clarify. Okay, so we'll stop here only. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.